Let's talk for a few minutes about the power of differentiation and what Think Like a CEO business strategy is going to be able to provide to you. So I like to start off by discussing a couple of the baddest animals on God's green earth. The grizzly bear, we can see here, weighs 1,500 pounds, has no known predator, can actually accelerate faster than your car. One swipe of its paw will decapitate a steer. And on the other hand, you have an alligator, 80 teeth sharper than razors, jaws that can exert 300 pounds of pressure per square inch, can hold its breath for 45 minutes. An alligator can actually accelerate faster than Usain Bolt for 25 yards. So who do you bet on in a fight? The grizzly bear or the alligator? Well, what I'd like you to consider and think about is, the answer is, it depends where you're fighting. If you're fighting in the swamp, you're going to bet on the alligator. If you're fighting in 6 feet of snow in the Colorado mountains in Aspen, you're going to bet on the grizzly bear. So the point here is what you want to do every single sales call, whether it's a phone call, whether it's a face-to-face, whether it's multiple calls with the same group of customers, with different customers. What you want to do is you want to differentiate yourself every single time and fight that fight where it's the best for you. In this case, let's say that you want to fight that fight in 6 feet of snow in the mountains. So we want to have a plan to differentiate. You want to teach your sales team the language of business. You want to make sure that we discuss the language of business. We want to have them commit to using Think Like a CEO app briefly before every single call with the customer. Before a face-to-face call, we want them to dive into Think Like a CEO app with a little bit greater detail. We want them to use the collaborative features so that they're able to collaborate with everyone on the sales team so that everyone is aligned with the prospect's profit strategies and we're on the same page to move forward with the same message to the customer to drive that value. We don't want to go in and try to do the relationship selling and, Mr. Customer, you should develop a relationship with me because I'm like you and you like to fish, so do I, or your son plays Pop Warner football, so does mine. We're not saying that's not important, but that's a waste of time to a customer that has fires that he's trying to put out. He wants you to come in, recognize immediately his current situation, and then talk about how you can solve the problems in his current situation. That's going to differentiate you. Some examples of undifferentiated questions here. How's your revenue performance been? How is your company organized? What challenges are you planning to address? This is a lot different than the type of questions that you're going to ask when you utilize Think Like a CEO app and actually understand what's going on with your customer, what their situation is, and how you can align to their profit strategies. For instance, in 2016, your revenues were $185 million with consistent 20% year-over growth. Are your revenues still on track for this year, maybe in the $240 to $250 million range? Now, you're asking the same question about what his revenues are, but you're asking it in an entirely different focus, a focus that shows him that you've done your homework, that you understand his situation, and that you're worth talking to. In effect, you're differentiated versus all of the other salespeople that have been calling on him every day or every week. So that's what we want to do. We want to commit to differentiating ourselves using Think Like a CEO app. We're going to sell higher. We're going to increase the ASP of the deals. We're going to compress the cycle time that it takes to close those deals. And we're going to drive more value for our company and more commission for us. Thank you and good selling.